Hello. Today I want to cover 3 tips for compliance, getting paid. So let me just show you this. If you go on to KW Command, as we know, this is where we go in for compliance. The 3 tips that I have for you today is when you're creating an opportunity. So this is important for Angie, who's doing our compliance, because she's able to actually search through these opportunities by property address. So if you have already created an opportunity, let's just say, let's click in here for myself here. And these are some opportunities that are open already. And these I happen to have an escrow. You'll see that I have already named these opportunities by property address. So let me give you an example of what we're talking about here, right? So we go into an opportunity, and you see on here these opportunities are named by property address. So let me show you how it's done. So when you create an opportunity, you're going to create an opportunity for either a listing, which is when you're working with a seller, or a buyer when you're working with a buyer, right? So when you select whichever opportunity you're selecting, you're going to notice here where it says opportunity name. I selected buyer. It already put in here buyer. And you'll also notice whenever I do select, let's just select this one. Or actually, let's select buyer A, buyer, AAA buyer, AAA buyer. Now, the system believes that this is the first name, AAA, and the last name is buyer. So the system, boom, throws in the last name on here. So just be aware of that the system will put the last name on here and whatever kind of listing it is. So what you want to do is when you're doing this, one last thing you want to do is put in the address. 123 Main Street, La Quinta, California, 92253. So that is, you hit create, and that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is when you have an open opportunity, let's select this one here, and we have an open opportunity. So this is on the buyer side, and let's just say we want to throw this one into under escrow. Oops. That is how you move one opportunity from one stage to the other. Now it shows up on here. Then my second tip actually is when you're in here and you're working on the file, so compliance is inside these opportunities. You go to documents. That is where compliance falls. Let's wait for it to go. It's thinking. What you want to do is we had talked about creating an additional folder for any documents that don't show up on the checklist. Well, the great thing about it is that the labs and the tech people have been working on this, and they have created the option to add additional documents that are not on a checklist. And we no longer need to, we no longer have to create this additional folder. So let me show you what I'm speaking about here. There you go. All right, so here under documents, we had talked about before you add a custom folder and you would add additional folders. That is no longer applicable, right? So, it's no longer necessary. Now, let's just say we have an addendum 1, and we need to add an addendum 2. Well, the system's only going to allow you to add one file in here. So what you want to do now instead is you are able to add additional documents on here. So if you click on add item, you're able to say addendum 2, and then it's an addendum, and then you could put additional notes, and then you add the file on there. So no longer have to create these folders. You could just add items to this checklist. And then the last tip I have for you is something coming from Angie, is that all compliance is done through KW Command. So KW Command is where compliance is done, not the way we used to do it on dotloop, where we would have to add Angie or invite Angie to review documents. We no longer do that. We just do it here in in documents, under opportunities, documents. This is compliance. So for those of you who have already set up a DocuSign Rooms account, do not invite Angie to go into those rooms. She really doesn't need access to these rooms. This is our personal file management, our personal system to be able to go out there and get signatures. We could split documents. We could do many things here in DocuSign Rooms. However, compliance is not done through here. So do not invite Angie on here, because she really does not do compliance through here, right? So let's keep that in mind. All compliance is done in KW Command, and DocuSign Rooms is really your file management system. Okay, so anyways, I hope this helps, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.